Hi, today I'm going to be showing you how you can add hover states to elements using hooks in React. This is kind of building on from yesterday's video that I uploaded where we made this like action list thing with like dangerous actions. In the last video we made it so you can only access dangerous actions while holding down a keyboard combination. In this video we're going to make it so that when you hover this delete button, this little "you cannot undo this action" message appears. So to start with, as usual, we're just going to make a function that will be our custom hook. We're going to call it, say, maybe use hover. And this is going to be the first hook in this series that requires a reference. So we can maybe say const ref equals useRef, and make sure that useRef is imported from React. And this is going to be a reference that we're going to assign to the element that we want to listen for hovers on. So we'll do that in a minute. Next, what we need to do is register some state using React's useState hook. Let's maybe call this piece of state hovered, and we'll create a setter function for that called setHovered, and we can say that equals useState, and make sure that that's imported as well up here. And the default state for this hover will be false. So now what we can do is we can return both ref and hovered. And down here in our app, we can start using that hook. So we can say const ref hovered equals useHover. And down here for this delete button here, we want to set the ref of that to the ref that we got from the hook. And we want to say down here, we're going to wrap this warning text inside the interpolation brackets, and we're only going to render that if hovered is true. So if we save, we can see that that text will now disappear. And if I set the default state to true and save, we can see that the text reappears. So I'm going to set it back to false, and we can create two functions that deal with setting the state to true when we hover in and setting the state to false when we move our mouse back out. So we'll call one enter, which will be our mouse enter, and we will say that function, all it's going to do, it's going to take no parameters, and all it does is set hovered to true. And we'll create another one called exit, and that will be equal to a function that sets hovered to false, which is convenient because they're the same length. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll create our usual useEffect hook. Again, make sure it's included from React. And useEffect is going to run after we have rendered our component, so we'll have access to the reference. And we don't really care about rerunning this effect, so we can just say pass these empty brackets here, maybe pass the ref in. We'll say we'll rerun the effect if the ref changes. So what we can do now is we can say ref.current add event list and we'll say mouse enter, and we're going to bind that to enter. And then we can do the same thing, but instead of mouse enter, we'll have mouse leave, and we'll bind that to the leave handler. Now we'll copy these two lines and return a function from this effect. It's one of the rules of hooks that whenever you have useEffect, you have to return a function from that effect that undoes everything that that effect did. So all this effect does is bind to events. So what we need to do here is remove to events. So now if we save this and hover over this, you can see we get this cannot undo action label appearing only when we're not, or only when we are hovering, and when we're not hovering, it disappears. So that's how you can add a useHover hook in React using hooks.